No Jumper. It was supposed to be the launch pad for a whole generation of hip hop stars, right? An empire built from the underground up. But in what felt like the blink of an eye, that empire just crumbled. We're talking a complete collapse into scandals, bankruptcy, and even federal investigations. This is the story of how a hip hop media giant fell from grace. So, at the very heart of this whole mess is a really explosive and kind of scary idea. A new, dangerous playbook in hip hop media where that line between just talking about the culture and actually getting involved in criminal cases, well, that line has gotten dangerously blurry. We're calling it the Snitch for Clicks playbook. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a strategy where a rapper's absolute worst day, getting robbed, getting hit with an indictment, becomes a platform's best day for views. And honestly, no one really pioneered this quite like No Jumper, literally turning snitching into a business model.
Okay, so to really get how damaging this playbook is, we have to look at one central piece of evidence. The whole situation with the rapper T. Grizzly. This wasn't just reporting on a story. This was the weaponization of information, plain and simple.
It all kicked off after a robbery at T. Grizzly's house. Suddenly, what was claimed to be police paperwork gets leaked and blasted all over these podcasts. It laid out exactly how a suspect, a guy known as Baby Shooter Johnson, was identified after he was supposedly bragging about the whole thing on Instagram. Now here's the crucial part. This went way beyond just filing an insurance report. According to the documents they were waving around on camera, Grizzly allegedly handed over his security footage, picked the suspect out of a police lineup, and even gave the cops the suspect's Instagram handle. In the streets, that kind of cooperation creates an instant and really damning narrative. T. Grizzly was a snitch. So you can imagine this just created a total crisis for him. He was suddenly stuck in the absolute worst of both worlds. On one hand, he's dealing with the street-level consequences of being labeled an informant, and on the other hand, he's fighting off these completely unrelated but incredibly serious public accusations about his own aunt's murder. This playbook didn't just report on a story, it created a personal catastrophe. And here's the thing, the T. Grizzly incident? That wasn't some one-off mistake. Nope. It was the direct result of a very deliberate, very explicit philosophy that drove every single decision over at No Jumper. And you don't even have to take my word for it. Here it is, straight from the founder himself. When he was called out on the idea that his questions could literally land his guests in prison, Adam22 said his duty was to the fans. If a guest says something that incriminates them, well, that's on them. This was the absolute core of his content over everything, or COE philosophy. It wasn't an accident, it was a strategy. And you could see the COA strategy play out in real time. The platform just swerved away from its music roots and dived headfirst into interviewing porn stars, controversial political figures, and active gang members. They were encouraging beefs on air, cashing in on federal RICO cases for views. They even platformed a convict tied to Pop Smoke's death. All of it just for the content. Look, a strategy this reckless, this focused on short-term views instead of, long-term integrity, it's going to have consequences. And for No Jumper, the collapse was just as dramatic as its rise. That COE philosophy led directly to the brand's implosion. And wow, did it unravel fast. It really started in 2023, when the core team of hosts just walked out. Then, by early 2025, there's a disastrous crypto launch that completely wiped out his fans' money. Just 2 months later, he's on camera saying he's going bankrupt. And to top it all off, the real world came knocking, with federal agents showing up at his door over a massive RICO case. And that content over everything mindset, yeah, it even extended to his fans' wallets. This crypto scam is the perfect example of that betrayal. The Adam22 coin got hyped up to his whole audience, only to crash by 99% when insiders allegedly pulled the rug out from under them. Fans who put their trust and their actual money into Adam were just left holding the bag. But the collapse wasn't just financial. It was cultural. The mass walkout of hosts like AD and Trell happened after a guest revealed some really sensitive info about another host, and Adam, citing his COE philosophy, refused to edit it out. Their statement when they left wasn't just about a bad workplace. It pointed to a really deep internal fracture. And all this time, the legal trouble was just mounting. A federal indictment comes down targeting a guy named Big U. And wouldn't you know it, people associated with No Jumper are implicated. Then the allegations start flying on air that some of those same associates were cooperating with the feds. It all came to a head when federal agents actually showed up at Adam 22's home, getting way too close for comfort. So after all of it, the financial ruin, the talent walking out, the federal heat, the complete self-destruction of its own brand, what's actually left of No Jumper? What is the legacy of this platform that was once so dominant? It's a real paradox, isn't it? No Jumper started out as this essential launchpad, giving a voice to a whole new generation of artists, guys who would go on to define the sound of modern hip-hop. But it ended as a cautionary tale, just bogged down in controversy and defined by the very chaos it profited from. And that kind of leaves us with one last really crucial question. When a platform builds its entire empire by exploiting pain, by turning real street conflicts into content, and by choosing clicks over character every single time, what did it actually contribute? What good is left behind when all of its glory was just borrowed from somebody else's tragedy?